week. So, with all the changes that are going on in the world, it seems that creative transformation is a never-ending story. And I would love to ask you at the start, what does this mean for you, and what does this mean for Hershey? How is creative transformation actually, playing a role in your company, in your organization?
Sure. As the CMO of International at Hershey, I often ask myself and my team, how can we provide meaningful experiences for each and every consumer around the world? How can we create more moments of goodness and spread the legacy of our founder, Milton Hershey? And that's the impetus of everything we do. And with the pandemic, with the busy lifestyles of consumers, I realized the need and importance for transforming the way we connected with consumers and the services we provide them, right? From the portfolio, the products that we served, to the communication, the messaging. And we need to be creative, right? In our targeting, our how we connect with our consumers. And not only the portfolio and the integrated marketing communication, but also how we go to market, right? The creative transformation starts from the inside all the way to the shelf, whether it be offline or online. And more importantly, the transformation had to come from within. Our ways of working, how we operated to deliver this creative transformation to our consumers.
Great. So, we just heard how fashion industry needed to change and adapt, and obviously, lots going on, and very exciting both for the consumers as well as for the company, just new opportunities opening up. So can you speak a little bit to how the food industry adapted to this change, and maybe even just taking us through the experience, like, first couple of months, obviously, we were all, just kind of watching and guessing what's going to happen next. And then, we went from this state of shock to kind of like, this is the new reality. What can we do to adapt and clearly serve the customers better? So can you just explain to us, like, how the food industry in general actually experienced that, and how you dealt with within your organization to just drive this transformation and change?
Absolutely. First, from an industry perspective, we saw some common threads across multiple areas. One, with consumers, we are more health conscious. So the entire food industry had to adapt their portfolio to be more health conscious. Second, there was this boom in e-commerce with consumer shopping behavior shifting, and the food industry had to adapt their channels and accelerate their e-commerce. And third, consumer staying at home shifted their media consumption. So from a food industry, from an advertising perspective, we had to shift our media consumption. And that happened across, my peer industry partners in the food industry. And within Hershey, we tapped into all these areas, right? We were agile, we were quick to observe these trends and accelerate key initiatives so that we can serve our consumer needs better. First, in the area of product innovation to address the need for the health and conscious. Second, in the area of content, so that we can better deliver the key messaging, the right messaging in the evolving media channels. And third, accelerating our e-commerce initiatives around the world. And I can go into in depth a little bit more if needed on these three areas.
Great. So we talked about the the kind of bringing together of the lower funnel and upper funnel, so branding and and more performance marketing. Obviously, because e-commerce became the main way of how consumers probably got to your products. So can you talk about what you've done internally, and maybe even where the starting point was? Like, did you have before separate teams that were just chasing different objectives and KPIs, and then how did you actually put these things together, and what kind of outcomes did you see as a result of that?
Sure. Especially with this media channel evolving and with e-commerce booming, I saw the need to integrate brand marketing and performance marketing so that we can deliver a seamless omni-channel experience for the consumer. Because it doesn't matter the consumer whether they are searching on Google, whether they are on Amazon, whether they are on any social media channel, it needed to be a seamless experience and not disjointed. It did not matter how many siloed teams we have in our organization. At the end of the day, the consumer treats it as one Hershey. And that's what we are all about. As an organization, we have a one Hershey mindset, and we work together so that we can deliver the consumer in a single-minded manner. And so there were three things that I did. In order to understand the consumer along the full funnel, we were very focused on uncovering consumer insights by the key channel or touch point. And especially during the pandemic, it was not easy, right? You can't be face to face in a focus group or an ethnography. So we leveraged AI-based tools and social listening to uncover those consumer needs and shopper needs. Second is all about, as you mentioned, setting the right team structure in place, right? We had brand marketing teams, the performance marketing teams, but we need to think holistically and pulling those teams together, setting a common vision that was full funnel based, and ensuring that for every meeting, I had the entire team there. It's not the brand marketer or the inside or the e-retail team. It was a holistic team working together hand in hand to deliver the experience. And the third aspect was about data. With the various tools that we have in the ecosystem, the connectivity of data across the full funnel was important, right? And transparency of data, as well as being able to connect the data that were coming out of these different systems, is essential to ensure that we have integrated brand marketing and performance marketing so that we drive not only brand power, but also sales.
So through this data and all the insights, like what did you find out that you could share with this audience? Like, are we just as a I mean, eating more chocolate, or like buying it at different times? Have certain products within your portfolio really excelled because they just mean something else from a brand value perspective? So just like what have you seen that really looked very different than prior to the pandemic?
Sure. First of all, I would say that consumer demand for chocolate continues to rise. And that's good news, right, for the chocolate industry, Hershey. And two drivers primarily. One is there is always this core need of relieving stress during the pandemic and the need for comfort to uplift consumers. And that became even more prominent during this time. And our portfolio fit right smack to serve that need. And we were available from an in-stock perspective at the places that consumers were shopping, both in brick and mortar stores as well as e-commerce. And we further tapped into this need to uplift consumers by launching new products around the world, like ice cream shop chocolate in 14 countries around the world during the pandemic, to deliver that cooling sensation of the ice cream in a convenient chocolate bar, or like Twizzlers tongue twisters in Canada, or Pelon lime and salt in Mexico, which are these classic stress relievers that you would like to munch on in during the workday or after work, that gives you relief, right? And gives you that comforting sensation. So that's one area. The second area is in the area of health and wellness, which I mentioned, right? We saw the need to evolve our portfolio. So, with the partnership of our cross functional teams, we launched a portfolio of better for you products, from sugar free Hershey chocolate in some of our markets like Mexico, Canada, and US, to immunity cocoa in India, to portion controlled Reese's Thins in Canada, right? So we are tapping into the presence of positives like special dark with dark chocolate with antioxidants in Brazil, absence of negatives, which is the low sugar, low calorie, and third, it's having functional benefits like the immunity cocoa, etc.
Wow, that's interesting. And are these products actually doing really well on the market? Are you
Absolutely.
planning to move the whole company into this direction, and just kind of like the everyone's trying to push the economies into more sustainable and just mindful of the future? Is this where the your industry as a whole is going as well?
So, as I said before, there is always this common area of sensorial indulgence and comfort, where that never dies, and that's always an area. But we want to give consumers the choice for better for you, and that's an area that we are delivering as well. And then third is people want to connect. It's not just about physical wellness with better for you, it is also mental health and well-being. And that is where chocolate serves as a way to provide gifting, and in a virtual world, the ability to connect during key occasions like birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays. These are the three areas that we have found are important to the consumer, and we want to provide them with the portfolio and the choices so that they can always rely on Hershey's as a brand to provide them the portfolio across the wide variety of needs that they have.
Great. So great to hear. So would like to switch a little bit the topic to how you handle the situation within your very large international organization. You have, I believe, team members in 60 plus countries, over 100 people or even more, and obviously out of a sudden everyone is working most likely remotely. Also 60 markets. There's almost every day some sort of change in the market. So how did you stay productive? How did you deliver on all these changes and challenges while everything pretty much has changed within your team? And perhaps even talking about, have you used more technology? Have you done something else? Like what did you do as a manager to keep your people in marketing productive and up to speed?
Sure. First of all, as every company, but more importantly in international, our team members are diverse, not only from a cultural perspective, but also have a variety of situations. Like there are people with kids, young kids, parents, and there are people who are caring for their elderly. Some are single or alone. And as I mentioned earlier, our first priority is to ensure the safety of our teams, both physically, but also mentally. And what that meant is I had to empathize with their situation. I can't assume that the luxury that I have and the facilities that I have are available in some place in India or Mexico. So I needed to empathize with them from a connectivity perspective, from an availability perspective, and mentioned that I'm there for them. And that connection and empathy was very important. Second, related to that connection is that call it I'm there for them, right? As you mentioned, in a remote environment, it's not easy. And I'm a person as a leader, I love leading my team and by walking around. I ideate with them. I get excited when I'm walking around, meet people, and we lost this opportunity. Like I'm sure you do too, right?
Exactly.
Your organization as a CEO. So those I miss those impromptu ideations and also not being available for them when they had problems that they faced. Like they could walk in anytime when I'm in the office. So I leveraged, of course, like most of the industry, instant messaging tools so that I'm answering those questions or clarification, making sure that they know that I'm available, right? That's the key, making sure that they know that they can reach out. And I set up virtual coffee chats and lunch mentoring sessions so that I can reach not only to my immediate leadership team, but so that I can cascade down all the way to the organization where we just don't have to talk about work, right? It's not about this project or this initiative, but asking them about their situation, their ideas. And this allowed them to be heard and be part of the organization and also helped me learn a lot and to shape the vision that I needed to form for the team. And third, it was all about inspiring teams, as you said, right? How do I motivate them? Right? I don't have a great town hall here where I can rally the troops. I had to be equally productive and effective virtually. And so when I conducted my virtual, and we still made sure that I am holding virtual offsites and ideation workshops with 100 plus people. And in order to get that participation, I had to be creative in our facilitation, in my discussions. So I had help from my team to leverage polls, new icebreakers, panel discussions, so that we can raise those thought provoking questions, solicit ideas, and unleash the creativity and the diversity of thought that we have in our teams.
Did you also do something to just become more agile and, faster in terms of how you can respond to just different things that happen in the market? And it's okay, pandemic was one thing, but it seems to be the new reality. So, almost every month there's something new that is a pretty big thing in the world, and it's surely impacting many markets, from various social topics to just to kind of maybe name out a few, even the recent things we're seeing from social media, challenges, or geopolitical things that happen. So how are you responding as a such a global organization from a creative standpoint? Because you need to stay relevant and just kind of put all these things in a context of any big campaign that you're working on. So any changes there, or like
Yeah, so I will bucket these into two sets of changes, and I think you alluded to a little bit. One is on the technology and the tools that we put in place to modernize our marketing and be agile. And the second is around our ways of working. Yeah, so I will answer it in two parts, if I may.
great, absolutely.
From it technology and tools, we had to advance our technological capabilities to enable future forward modern marketing, right? We partnered externally with suppliers to expand our ecosystem of marketing technologies so that we could implement a digital tech stack that enables us to be agile, but also deliver a seamless omni-channel experience. And that is a tech stack that is across the full funnel, to your earlier point. So we implemented tools for social listening to uncover those insights. And there were tools that I was amazed how the team was able to deliver within just 2 weeks 250 video diaries across 5 countries and able to quantify the data as well. Versus, as you know, typically in a big organization like ours, it takes at least 3 months to get the qualitative, and then you do another 3 months for quantitative. But here we were able to be agile across multiple countries, get quantitative and the qualitative data with speed. So that's just one example to show how our tools has helped us be on top of what's happening with the consumer. And of course, we did the ongoing social listening so that we can tap into those needs that are emerging in social media. And third, we did also proactive social campaigns so that we can reach out and find new consumer insights. Now, that's from a technology tools standpoint. Now, from a ways of working and operation to drive agility, I believe in setting priorities, right? I know in this world, it's not about yearly priorities. Yes, there may be annual priorities, but there are monthly priorities, weekly priorities, and that, as you said, it's constantly evolving. But it is that alignment with my leadership team on any moment of time. What is our priorities? And not only with my immediate leadership team, but also with my cross-functional partners who I rely on greatly to drive the success. Second, it is about communicating and cascading those priorities all the way across the organization, right? It's not just about, say, telling them, okay, these are the priorities, but gaining buy-in and commitment from the teams all the way down who are actually going to execute it with the same sense of passion and sense of urgency that I have, right? So in order to get that, needed to communicate the why behind our priorities. And that was very, very important. So I have done monthly calls, and my leadership team has done monthly videos where we shared the why behind it and some success stories. So it's all about storytelling, right? We talk about external consumer storytelling, but during the pandemic, I realized even more so how important it was to get the storytelling within our within our employees, internal storytelling, so that we could rally the troops. And last but not least, it was also about leveraging sprint processes and design thinking methodologies, not just in product innovation or technology, but in all ways through the marketing process, from e-commerce to creating communication. And that process has been instilled, and that's what has allowed us to be agile and move fast.
Great. So, you know, at the end, I'd like to spend a little bit time on the future and, you know, how you are getting ready for the future, also from a creative standpoint. And is there like any immediate objectives from a, you know, creative standpoint or creative transformation standpoint that you still are working on and or want to accomplish? Like, what's the next big thing for your organization?
So, of course, as a Hershey company, we are always consumer insight focused, right? So we want to serve the consumer needs across our occasions, the key occasions, and be top of mind for them, right? And for us, creating more moments of goodness and
Okay.
sharing the purpose that we have as a Hershey organization and making sure that it permeates across all the countries and in anything and everything we do is one of the key important things. And as I say, each brand or company has a unique purpose and reason for being. And
Sure.
for Hershey, it is creating more moments of goodness, right? And when that ties very well with the consumer needs and values, then the authenticity, the value added experience becomes very clear. And this aligns very well with our Gen Z, which is the next generation of consumers, and is also a critical factor in not only motivating our talent, as I mentioned about our internal storytelling, but also about attracting and retaining them. So, net, staying true to our purpose, creating more moments of goodness, and then the magic happens.
Yeah, beautiful said. That's great. So maybe we invite also the rest of you who are listening here to just submit some questions if there are any. Otherwise, Ariel, how much more time do we have here? Are we pretty much at the end of our time? Oh, 9 minutes. Great. So we can then continue. Okay, well, if there are any questions, we'll certainly, ask those questions. So then let me then ask you a few more questions in regards to just, how you also, dealt with the changes in the media. So obviously as consumers stayed at home, they just spend more time in front of, streaming devices, so clearly more video. And with that, you probably needed a different approach to creative. So how did the change of the media landscape and how consumers spend their time impact your challenges on the creative side, and what did you do with that?
Absolutely. And to that point, the whole industry, the consumers shifted their media consumption, and we shifted with that, right? We were quick to shift. And as a lot of, particularly in the media world, gaming increased, social media consumption increased, and we adapted our media mix appropriately across our markets. Um, and then, more importantly, given the increase in consumption of media, we also saw that there were new consumer groups also consuming media more so than what we had observed before. And with our, we had to be also smart in our advertising spend, right? We can't just increase our spending, we just had to shift it. But we leveraged user generated content a lot in order to adapt to these various touch points quickly, because we don't have time for big photo shoots all over again. To your point, we had to be agile, and user generated content was the way we were able to get uh, content in a real authentic manner, and allowed us to drive advocacy for our brand. And we were very focused about who we targeted for user generated content. We targeted high frequency, high loyal brand users who understand our brand. But at the same time, we were open to evolving our brand communication the way consumers wanted to, right? So that comfort level is something that was a big shift for us as a company, because packaging, when they provide, may not be the perfect. It may be a little bit crinkled. It may not be in the perfect lighting that we may want, but hey, it is real. It is a real kitchen that the consumer has, and it's the real, it may be a little bit of clutter in the background, but that's real, and that became viral and resonated well with our consumers.
Great. So have you tried also any of the newer channels, or did you venture into the where consumers started spending a lot of time, for instance, like TikTok? Like, what are you like taking the approach to really go into these things early and just take some risks in order to better understand what you can do within those communities, and how to talk to them, and how to develop your own voice and authenticity?
Yeah. We have deployed on TikTok, Twitch, for example, in certain markets. And both of those has played, in addition to, the traditional Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, etc. And we have leveraged influencers to on TikTok in some markets to drive advocacy for our brand, and it becomes viral and it becomes credible, right? So that is also what I bucket under user generated content, the influencing on TikTok. Twitch is another channel from a gaming perspective, real time, where we targeted those snackers, the late night snackers and the gamers, and that has also been efficient and productive for us.
So for that, you probably need some creative that can be viable products right away, and then really super fast delivery through some service. So this would be
Yes, absolutely. And to that point, with e-commerce, we have observed the need for instant satisfaction. So
okay.
1 hour delivery, 2 hour delivery models have come up in a variety of markets, and
Great.
have partnered with Rappi in Brazil, Corner Shop in Canada, similar to the Uber Eats and DoorDash here in the US, and Big Basket in India, as case in point, where we are focused on those channels and delivery mechanisms. And we have been able to serve new consumers through new fulfillment models. And that was new to us, right? It was
Yeah,
completely
that's super interesting.
out a completely new fulfillment model, logistics, the portfolio, etc., had to be radically shifted in a fast manner. And I applaud our teams for embracing these new technologies and coming up with creative solutions. And to that point, I think it is all about creative problem solving and tapping into these insights and responding in an agile manner.
Yeah, that's definitely the exciting part of the marketing, that it's just this blending between e-com and marketing campaigns. It's just never ending opportunities there for sure. So and because you're running all these global markets, and some markets we know are very advanced, other might be really good labs for testing new strategies. And are you doing this just using the international platform also to just try new things that are, from a creative standpoint, really progressive, really advanced, perhaps can become the future blueprint for the whole organization and your biggest markets?
Yeah, absolutely. With the different brand development and category development, it allows us to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
We can test and learn different things, but at the same time, I'm very cognizant of not testing and learning for the sake of testing and learning, but a test and learn that has a clear KPI, an action standard that allows us to scale across markets. That is very important as we design our test and learn. And that's something that I pay particular focus on. And that aside, when I look at my initiatives across the varied markets, I love to celebrate similarities. Right, born and brought up in India and having lived and worked in 6 countries around the world, I'm very cognizant of how consumer lifestyles and tastes are different. At the same time, I've observed plenty of similarities in consumer context, behaviors, and attitudes that allow us to get to that common consumer insight. And I focused on this universal human truth that we want to uncover so that we can get to this big idea for a marketing campaign or a big consumer insight that is common across markets for a new product. And case in point, we launched Ice Cream Shop in 14 countries with the same insight, the same portfolio, and it was teamwork, but it's all about celebrating similarities. On the flip side, we tested and learned, your earlier point, a insight on the She campaign, which is all about celebrating women and empowering women for a sustainable world. And that we, even though it started as a gem of an idea in Brazil, we quickly saw how it was common and relevant across all markets. And we lifted and reapplied that idea across multiple markets. And now it is one of the big campaigns for international. And to the point about scalability, you test and learn something, and we scaled it across markets.
Wonderful. And that brings us to the end. I would like to thank you for this very insightful discussion, and just hand over the word to Ariel.
Thank you so much, Miha. Appreciate it. And thank you, Ariel, for having me here. It's always a pleasure to be here, reflect on my experience